Vasily Petrenko, thank you for your time.
Pleasure, thank you.
So I'm wondering, how old or how young were you when you began?
Well, I've started in a very special school in St. Petersburg since I've been 7. It was a very prestigious boys' school in Soviet Union, and it produced the choral conductors at the end. But you've been starting at the age of 7, and I had a huge competition at the beginning. There have been about 450 kids, boys, on 25 places only. And then if you passed the competition, every year the outsiders were eliminated. So if you score the lowest points at the end of the year, you're sent to another school. And it makes you a great competitive ability. It makes you a very hard worker since you are 7, and it gives you good discipline. So yeah, from 7 years old, literally teachers been saying, you will be a conductor. So that was a long process to go through.
So when you got people, grown-ups, pointing at you going, you will be a conductor, were you going, okay, or did you go, yes, that's what I want to be?
It wasn't like they asked you about answer. They've been just telling you. And then you just don't need to answer to them. It's like your duty. You don't have a choice at the beginning. And then, of course, it comes to your blood. And I must say that, of course, choral conducting is a slightly different thing. But the school was producing conductors simply because it was needed for Soviet Union. The communists, they did various things with the country, but some things with the culture were amazing. For instance, there have been about 250 professional choruses in the country, paid by government. By the time when I've been finishing the school, Soviet Union will not exist. Nowadays, it's I think only about 10 choruses last from this 250. And it's simply not enough space for the choir conductors to work on. So roughly in the late 80s, I've decided that it probably will be more prosperous to be orchestra and opera conductor. And I switched towards this occupation and studied in conservatoire actually in 2 faculties simultaneously.
What was it like to go through that enormous transition from a young musician and conductor's point of view, from that the concentration during the Soviet era on culture and music, as you said, through to the new Russia and its approach to culture and music? How did that shape you? Yeah.
Difficult. That was a very difficult time, especially in the 90s in post-Soviet Union. You had all kinds of things. You had deficit of the food. You had some Kalashnikov fire on the streets, mafia gangs going here and there, and basically nobody knew where it's gonna lead the country. And even now, I must say that priorities been swapped. If before the monumental task was to build a communism, now the task for everybody is to earn a lot of money. And this ideology, in fact, a lot of American influence in that, it doesn't work so far very good for the Russians. No, people need some more intellectual assets.
Let's talk about a timeless, extraordinary piece of Russian music, Shostakovich's The 7th Symphony. Why have you chosen this for your Sydney debut?
I've chosen the symphony because it's a great message from Shostakovich and from all the people of Leningrad by then. The message which very much resonant nowadays, especially after the last week in London. You can see how the city can be besieged, not only from outside, but from the inside, from within. The Leningrad Symphony is about the victory of the human spirit against all the circumstances, all the difficulties, all anti-human forces, not only from the Hitler side, from Germans, but also from Stalin's side, because Shostakovich eventually started to write the symphony before 1941. And that's about the glory of the humans who knows about the truth and who knows about the true spirit of themselves. Because that was extremely crucial page of the history of 20th century, probably one of the most disastrous pages of the history. And every night, people have been guarding the roofs of their buildings against these fire bombs. Shostakovich himself, he's been guarding, and he admitted that he eventually put about 3 or 4 bombs into the water, because what they've been doing, they had fireproof gloves and they had a big barrel of water, so when they see the bomb falling down from the aircraft, that was necessary to coat it with gloves and put into the barrel, that it's not explode with fire all around the places. And that's what the people have been doing on the day-by-day basis. And that's a symbol of resistance and resilience of human spirit against invasion, either from outside or from inside.
There's that old Russian proverb that when the guns speak, the muses stay silent. Yet with Shostakovich, during this period of the Second World War, the guns were speaking and he seemed to respond to them. He was inspired by them when he composed, or at least completed, this symphony. How extraordinary do you think that is?
There are a lot of extraordinary facts about it. You know, for instance, the premiere was made in Leningrad in 9th of August in 1942. The orchestra, which had a heroic effort, basically the orchestra been put just for this symphony together. Most of the people went back from the army. They've been thin as a sheet of paper, and they had very little breath at the beginning of the symphony, and it's very difficult even nowadays to play the symphony. But they made this heroic effort to perform it because they knew that it will be extremely important for the country. And I believe there have been massive, probably one of the largest broadcast auditoriums in the world and all the time, all around the globe, just to listen to the voice of Leningrad. And that's why Shostakovich knew what will be the circumstances and what it will cause. And that's what was his contribution to the city and to the war. A little bit ahead of them. I'm telling the story to the orchestra. I'm trying to tell them what the music is about, because the notes itself is nothing. And when you think about it, in fact, the notes is just a way to make a rough understanding how the music must sound. The most important is what's between them, what's behind them, and what's the concept, what the composer would like to say, and what nowadays you need to say about it. So all that is kind of blend of the aspects which you need to deliver to the orchestra and to the audience. And the orchestra, I believe, always need to know what the piece is about. Otherwise it doesn't make sense. Otherwise you play some abstract notes.
To end where we began, as is self-evident, you're young and still young enough to play football, to play soccer, and you're planning to do that while you're here.
I hope so. We will see. I hope so to make this game. In Liverpool, well, that's a religion there, of course. And when I'm there, once a week, I'm always playing with orchestra. I'm enjoying it. It's not about making myself more popular or something. It's just I'm enjoying that. I feel fit after that. And it's a good way to spend time with your friends. And because I've been playing football since I've been maybe 5 or 6, even being in conservatoire team in St. Petersburg.
You see, if some teacher back then had gone, you must play football, instead of saying, you've got to become a conductor.
Well, but then I'll be retired by now. Maybe rich, maybe not, but I'll be retired.
Well, we're the richer for you being a conductor and bringing this music to us. Vasily Petrenko, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very much.